So what exactly are the top 15 most valuable, most expensive and sought after Pokemon cards in Scarlet and Violet 151? Let's go take a look. So it's been 4 months now since Pokemon released the much anticipated Scarlet and Violet 151 set. Now this has been one of the most hyped up, most anticipated sets in the Pokemon collecting world. Today, we're going to look 4 months in, what are the top 15 chase cards, the most valuable, the most expensive, and the most sought after. And we're going to take a deep dive. Are they on their way up? Are they on their way down? Which cards to wait for? Which cards to collect now? Which cards do you need for your set? Let's take a look at the top 15 chase cards from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151. Okay guys, so Scarlet and Violet's 151, one of the best Pokemon card sets to collect of all time, and hands down the best Pokemon set from 2023. So 4 months later, we're looking at the top 15 chase cards from this set, the most valuable, the most expensive, and the most sought after top 15 cards from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151, starting from 15 and working our way up. Number 15. 15th most valuable card in Pokemon 151 is the Wartortle. Currently sitting at just under $20, $19 and $19 pretty much exactly, $19.02. Let's not forget about the 2 cents. As of January 21st, 2024, it had a high back in November of $22.50, and it had a bit of a drop around mid-December down to $17. And if we go back 1 month, you can see that trend line moving up from just over $16 all the way up. Had a bit of a dip here again a few weeks back down to just under $17.50, back up to $20, and it's sitting around that $19 mark at the moment. So not a bad pickup. $19 Wartortle, the 15th most valuable card in 151. Now, if we close this and we look at PSA 10 Wartortle, US $157. If you got this card graded in a PSA 10, this is a recent sale on eBay, $157 US, which is about 240 Australian dollars. So you can see there is some money to be made if you can buy these singles in good condition at a good price and get them graded in a PSA 10. You can actually make some money. But that's number 15, going for 157 American dollars in a PSA 10. That's the Wartortle. Next, we have the Pikachu. Pikachu. Now, this is a pretty awesome card. You got that little Pikachu running across the road there. Now, I think that's the Lycanroc in the corner, and Gengar down here, if I'm not mistaken. Cheeky Gengar in the corner. This card's currently trending just under $20 also at $19.71. If we go back 1 month, we can see these prices are starting to tick up over the last month. So waiting for these prices to drop might be a bit of a risk. Definitely one of the strongest sets from Pokemon. A lot of the sets, when they first get released, the single prices tend to drop quite a bit. A lot of these cards haven't had massive drops, but there's the Pikachu sitting just under $20 at $19.90 today. Had a high back in January of $21, and it's not far off that now. You can see over the last month, this Pikachu is going one way, and that's north. Just under $20. But if we look at this in a PSA 10, US $107. So there you go. It's sold cheaper in a PSA 10 than the Wartortle. Yet I've got this ranked number 14th above the Wartortle on my list. Now, I've ranked this list 1 to 15 in order of raw prices according to TCG Player. So there may be a discrepancy based on eBay sales. These may not be in the exact correct order. As you can see, the Wartortle sells in a PSA 10 for more than the Pikachu. So I will be ranking these based on TCG Player raw prices. So there you go, $107 in a PSA 10 for the Pikachu. Next we have the Mew EX, number 13 out of the top 15 chase cards from Scarlet and Violet 151. We don't need to go back 6 months, let's click off that. 3 months it was sitting at around $24. Had a big drop here down in mid to late December, just under $16.50. If we go back a month, Same trend as the last couple of cards. It's gone up from 16.50, had a high of 21, bit of a dip down to under 19, and sitting pretty much smack bang on 20 bucks, $20.12. So that's the Mew EX, $20, card number 13 out of 15. And we're going to look at the PSA copies in a PSA 10 of every one of these cards, so don't worry. Here's the PSA 10. Crazy, huh? The English version. These are all English, not Japanese. US, $56 in a PSA 10. Again, you'd say, why are you ranking this number 13 when the War Turtle at 15 and the Pikachu at 14 sold for more? Again, I'm ranking these on raw prices. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to rank these 1 to 15 on raw prices. So that's pretty dismal, actually. The fact that you can get this raw for 20 bucks and it's selling in a PSA 10 for only $56, it's almost not worth getting graded. There's not really enough of a markup after grading costs and postage costs to get this card graded, unless you're not looking to make any profit and you just want to protect your Mew for the long term. So card number 12 out of 15, we've got the Charmeleon illustration rare, sitting at $22 today, mid to late January. And if we go back 1 month, you can see again, like so many of these cards, it's going one way, and that's north. A month ago was $18, been climbing. January 10th hit a high of $22.63, and here we are today at $22.20. That's the Charmeleon, card number 12 out of 15 from Pokemon Scarlet Violet, 151. Now, what did the PSA 10 sell for? So we got this card raw, $22. Grading costs, PSA I think is between $15 and $19, plus postage costs. So let's have a look what it sells for in a PSA 10 right now. US, $150. So you can see there's some money to be made if you can find these singles in really good condition, raw. You can actually make some serious money getting these graded in a 10. The downside of that is if you get your card graded, you think it's going to be a perfect 10 and it comes back in a PSA 9. Quite often, the PSA 9s are not very much more than the raw price, so it's not really worth getting them graded sometimes. But if you're very confident and know how to pick your 10s, there's some money to be made in these PSA 10s. So there's a Charmeleon, US $150. These are all recent sales in the last few days, last week. It's about 227 Australian dollars, the Charmeleon. Moving up in the list, we have the Blastoise EX. Now, this is not the most valuable Blastoise. We're going to get to the other one soon. But this Blastoise EX, number 184 out of 165, this is the ultra rare. Going back 3 months was $22, and it's sitting just over $22 now. So if you bought this card 3 months ago, you wouldn't be at a loss, unless you sold it here in December, where most of the cards seem to have dipped just before Christmas. This was down to $17.94. And if we go back 1 month, you can see in the last month it's gone from that low of $17.90 all the way up, $21 there in, where are we, December 29th, and then had a little dip. But it's been going basically one way. The lows are getting higher, so the lows are not getting lower. And it's been pretty consistent in the last month, heading north. Like most of these cards, the last month they've really performed. So if you need any of these cards for your sets, I wouldn't be waiting. Could they drop in price? Sure. Who knows? But these trend lines are looking very strong, very solid, all going north in the last month so far, these top 15 chase cards so far. We'll see if any of them are going the other way as we go through them. But that's the Blastoise EX, just under, basically 23 bucks. What's it going for on a PSA 10? US $137, recent sale for the Blastoise English version. Ultra rare and a PSA 10, which is about 208 Australian dollars. So quite strong prices on the PSA 10s. I think most of them have been over $100 except for that Mew. Now, Erica's Invitation. This card is doing the exact opposite to the other chase cards so far, and this thing is going south. It's going one way, baby, and that is south. Not even 3 months ago, $35. and it's had a big drop all the way down to 20 bucks. It's lost almost half of its market value, probably about 40% of its market value. Hit a low in mid to late December here of 20 bucks. If we go back for the month, okay, it does seem to be recovering. It does seem to be recovering, but that was a huge consistent drop, almost 40% off its value. So we go from $20 a month ago up until just under $24 now. So it is heading up. It's still down severely on 3 months. It's still about $12 cheaper than it was 3 months ago. But if you bought this a month ago, you bought it at the right time, around Christmas time, this card is trending north now. So hopefully Erica's Invitation keeps trending north. But that one is a little bit different a bit of a different trend to the others that we're seeing. So anyway, today this is just under $24, $23.80. What's it doing in a PSA 10? Sold for $153 US in a PSA 10. Very good value for a card that wasn't doing very well raw a month ago, to sell for $153 a few days ago in a PSA 10, which is 233 Australian dollars. So good score there on Erica's Invitation. If you're buying the slabs already graded, someone else is possibly making a lot of money off you, or I would say definitely is. If you don't want the hassle of grading a card yourself, buying raw cards and grading them, maybe they come back in 9s or 8s, and you just want to buy the card outright for your collection, go for it. I'm sure these will all go up over a long enough period of time. I don't think you can go wrong. But if you're looking to flip and make a quick buck, I wouldn't be buying slabs with any anticipation of quick profits. But anyway, I don't wish to ramble on. On to the next card. The Bulbasaur, 3 months ago, was selling at $25.75. Now sits just under $25. So if you bought 3 months ago, you wouldn't be at a terrible loss. It's been pretty consistent. It did have a big drop here in November. A lot of the other drops were in December. This one dropped in mid-November down to 21 from 25. But now it's, let's have a look at the last month. Very good set. 151 is a very strong set. You can see with most of these cards, the last month, they are on the rise. This Bulbasaur did have a big high here in January 9th of $26. It's come back a little bit, but not too much. It is up on the month from $23 to $24.64. The Bulbasaur. $24.64. What about a PSA 10? Sold recently for $165 US. Strong price. 250 Australian dollars. Good score. Moving on. What's the next one? The Squirtle. The Squirtle is selling for $28.38 today, January 21st, 2024. 3 months ago, this card was $22. So you can see a lot of them 3 months ago had a bit of a drop. A lot of these cards, and then started to rise about a month ago. This thing's a bit different. This thing's been on the up and up for 3 months. It did have a dip here in December from 25 bucks down to 22 bucks. Not a huge drop, but again, going back 1 month, and this thing is absolutely skyrocketed in the last month from $22 all the way up to almost $29 in the space of a month. The Squirtle. It's such a cool card too. It's such a cool card. Something about these cards is so cute. $29. What's the PSA doing? Sold for $163 US recently, just under 250 Australian dollars. So strong prices, great set. 151 is such an awesome set, but you already know that. Charmander, baby, what are you doing? 6 months, we don't want to look at that. $31.81, so just over $30 these cards now. 1 month, it's gone up like so many of the rest. Just under $28. Had a high here of January 9th, $32 in January 9th. On January 9th. Just had a Kamala Harris moment, bit of a word salad. January 9th, $32, pulled back to $30 a bit, and now sitting at $32. So if you bought this card a month ago, $27 to $32, you'd be $5 up. And in a PSA 10, this sold recently for US $153, about 233 Australian dollars, the Charmander. Now we have where are we? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left, so that's Let's close this off and get to the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 cards left. So number 6 on the list, the Alakazam, one of my favorite cards in this set. I really love this card. I've pulled this card actually the very first Ultra Premium collection I ever opened of 151. We pulled this Alakazam as well as the top chase card, which we're going to show you shortly. I'm sure you already know what it is. But I own this card, and this card, such an awesome card, has been tanking. This card is doing the opposite to most of the other cards in 151, and it is tanking. It is going south over the last 3 months. $37, $38 3 months ago, and it's sitting today at just under $32. So it's gone down, not drastically, but I mean it's gone down $6 in 3 months. If we look at the month, it looked like it was starting to go up from $31. We went up to $35 in January. A lot of these cards went up January 9th, January 10th. But then bang, straight back down. January 13th, a few days later, it went from 35 back down to 31. And it's gone up again, 33. On its way down now again. Sitting at $32. But it looks like if you wait for this one, you could probably pick it up cheaper. It looks like it is on the way back down. It doesn't look very promising. But awesome card. If you like the card, you can buy the card at any price, I guess. But if you don't have it yet and you're wanting to buy this card, I'd be happy to wait. I'd be taking a chance on waiting. This card looks like it's going to keep dropping. It's unfortunate because it's a bloody awesome card. It's one of the nicest cards in the set. So that's the Alakazam doing his little sorcery magic with his spoon or something. But very cool card. Lots of detail. Great artwork. I love the fact that we pulled this card in our very first Ultra Premium Collection opening. But moving on to the top 5 cards now. Oh, I almost forgot. PSA 10. What is this card selling for in a PSA 10 if it's going raw? Oh, click off that. If it's going raw for just under $32. What's it doing in a PSA 10? Sold for $132. American dollars. $132 recently. Which is about 200 Australian dollars. So, I mean, if you can get this card graded in a 10 like so many in this set, there's money to be made. Awesome card. Moving on. Charizard EX. This is a very nice card too. We start getting into some really cool cards now. These top 5 cards are just so awesome. So 3 months ago, this card was $30. It's sitting at $35 today, just over $35. A month ago, you could pick this card up for $33, $32. Had a high in January of $37, back down to $34, and now sitting around just over $35. So this card's been performing well over 3 months, over 1 month. It could be dropping a little bit here in price. Its highs are getting slightly higher. 36 high, 37 high. Yeah, very hard to tell with this card which way it's going to go. But if you love the card, pick it up. Charizard EX, $35 raw. Sold recently in a PSA 10 for $114. So actually not as strong in a PSA 10 as some of the lower tier cards have been selling for in a PSA 10. Charizard, obviously the most popular Pokemon character of all time. But US, $114 in a PSA 10, which is about $173 Australian, as you can see right there. Great card. I don't own this card. I'll be keeping an eye on the raw price. I'm not going to buy this one yet, but I'll be keeping an eye on that raw price. I'll be looking to pick this up soon. Charizard EX. Next on the list, we have the Zapdos EX. This card is around $40 at the moment, just under $41. If you bought it 3 months ago, it would have been $42, and it's just under $41 now. 3 months, it's been pretty consistent. Had this big drop back in pretty much Christmas time. Well, it wasn't a crazy big drop, but I mean it dropped $5 from 43 down to 38. And if we go back 1 month, it's done well over the month. $38 up to 42. Had a high here in January of 45, and now sitting at just under $41. The Zapdos EX, not one of my most favourite cards from the set, but it's a nice looking card. $41 raw. What's a PSA 10 doing? We have a sold copy here for 127 American dollars, about 193 Australian dollars. So not as big a markup, $40 to $127 to get it graded in a PSA 10. Yeah, not the biggest profit margin compared to some of the other lower ranked cards. But moving on, we're going to get into the top 1, 2. We're down to the top 3 after this. Let's check them out. The Venusaur, third most valuable card. Is that right? 1, 2. Yeah, third most valuable card in Scarlet Violet 151. It's not my favourite Venusaur. People do love this card. Collectors seem to love this card. Sitting at $42 today. If you bought it 3 months ago, you'd be down $2. It was about $44 3 months ago. Had a high here in November of 47. Currently sitting at 42. So it's dropped off a little bit in the last 3 months. If we go back a month, it was $40. Had a big high here of, like I said, $46 in January. And it's been coming back actually the last couple of weeks. From $47 all the way down to 42. Just under 42. So currently, I mean, if you bought it a month ago, you're pretty much where you were a month ago. Slightly up. But the last couple of weeks, this Venusaur has been dropping in price. Strange. Venusaur is one of the most popular Pokemon out there. But yeah, this card's starting to come off a little bit. So keep your eye on this one. There might be a better opportunity to pick this card up a little bit cheaper in the coming weeks. What's this thing selling for in a PSA 10 if it's $41 raw? PSA 10. It's selling strong. It's selling strong in a PSA 10. So some profit margin to be there. Some profit margin there to be made for you flippers, people that like to buy raw singles and grade them and flip them and get that cash flow going. $198 US, almost $200, which is about $300 Australian. Strong price, such a strong price for a card that's been, you know, its raw price has been dropping the last couple of weeks. So good score there for whoever got that graded in 10. I'm sure they made some good cash. Blastoise EX. I freaking love this card. This is such an awesome card. This Blastoise just chilling in the water. He kind of has that look on his face like he's ready for battle. Bring it on. You know, I love this card. I need this card. $46 raw. This is actually... Why do all my favourite cards seem to be dropping in price? That Alakazam, and now this Blastoise 3 months ago was $54. It's now $46. It's down on 3 months. If we look in the last month, it is trending upwards. $41 up to $46. So hopefully it's going one way, and that's north. It's showing good signs that it's going to continue to go up in price. We never know, right? We never know. But the last month, this card is performing. Had a high of $47 about a week ago. But like I say, if we go back 3 months, its highest price was $54, which was when it was brand new. Interesting. So $46 raw card, Blastoise EX, second most valuable card in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151. What's it selling for in a PSA 10? Let's have a look. 220 American dollars, 220 US in a PSA 10, 334 Australian dollars. So yeah, solid price. Great looking card. Hopefully I pull this card soon. Otherwise I might just have to buy it. Do I buy it raw though? There's always risk with that, isn't there? But I think I'll buy it raw if I don't pull it in the next few weeks. Number 1, baby! Number 1! Charizard, and you already knew it. This set's been out for 4 months. You knew what the number 1 chase card was. You already knew. If we go back 3 months, this thing was $114 for the Charizard EX. Sitting at $117. So for the last 3 months, it really hasn't moved a lot, but it has been pretty consistent. Having this massive high back in late November of $134. Let's go back 1 month. If this thing wants to respond. There we go. 1 month. It is up on the month. 116 to 117. It's barely up on the month. It's pretty level. So over a 3 month period and over a 1 month period, even with all the highs and lows and movements and volatility of this card, it's maintained pretty much the same price. It's slightly up. So where was its most valuable? Yeah, like I said, back here in January. So in November, $134, and then the next high was in January, $120. So the most expensive this card has ever been is $134. It's up on the month, but it's very volatile. Its lows are getting a bit higher. It had a low here of $113 in January, early January. Then mid-January, its next low was $116. So its lows are getting higher. That's a good sign. But yeah, number one chase card. Awesome card. Actually, I've only opened up one 151 Ultra Premium collection. I pulled the Alakazam, which is not showing good prices, but I pulled that Alakazam, which was one of my favorite cards. And we actually pulled this number one chase card. I didn't do it on the channel. I didn't do it on video. I opened a UPC with my stepson, and he's so lucky. He always pulls the hits, I'm telling you. And he pulled this Charizard, this number one chase card, in the very first UPC that we've ever opened. So we're thrilled about that. Definitely got our value out of it. Number one chase card. Awesome card. What's it doing in a PSA 10 if the raw price is 117 American dollars? Well, a PSA 10 recently sold for $425 US. So $117 raw, $19, $17 grading costs, maybe a bit lower. Let's call it $20 postage costs, grading costs. You've spent 117, 137, 140 bucks if you were to buy this raw and get it graded, and this sold for 425 American dollars. That's like a $285 profit US. In Australian dollars, that's $645 this card sold for in a PSA 10. Remember, this is only a 4-month-old set. This is not an old set. These are really strong PSA prices for a modern set. To have this many cards over $100, and this one to be over 645 Australian and over 400 American dollars, only 4 months old this set. This will go down in history as one of the best sets ever. Sorry, just had a Joe Biden moment. One of the best sets ever. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 151, number one chase card, Charizard EX, shooting the lights out with its prices. Awesome freaking card, awesome set. Thank you for watching. Thank you once again for watching the chase card, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like 151 as much as I do, feel free to check out this video where I open a Scarlet and Violet 151 Elite Trainer box. See if we can pull some hits. Thanks for watching the chase card. Bye for now.